Hello, Radiant Leo. What if today is the moment the universe has been preparing you for? What if the very reason you clicked on this video is because God is waiting, and the door you've been searching for is already open? Let me ask you again. Are you ready to walk through it? This is not just another horoscope reading. This is a sacred message. A divine alignment. You are not here by accident. You've arrived because your soul called you here. And now, everything is about to change. You see, Leo, you've always been the one who carries light for others. The strong one. The dependable one. The lion-hearted leader who never gives up. But even the brightest flame sometimes flickers in silence. Even the most powerful soul sometimes needs to be reminded. You are not alone. You were never forgotten. There comes a moment, and perhaps this is it, when the soul grows tired of pretending. When the roar softens into a whisper. When the one who's always been the protector finally whispers, I'm ready to be protected too. The universe has been sending you signs. You felt the shift in your body, your dreams, your energy. Maybe you felt distant from your passions. Maybe you've been showing up for everyone except yourself. But here's the truth. You don't need to keep holding on to what's already fading. You don't need to keep sacrificing the garden of your soul just to keep others warm. The door is open. The path is being cleared. And the miracle you've been waiting for is you. Yes, you heard that right. You are the miracle. You don't have to prove anything. You don't need to fix yourself to be worthy. You just have to say yes to what your heart already knows. Leo, this is your time. Not to push harder. Not to fight more battles. But to return home to yourself. To the light inside you that has never gone out, just dimmed under the weight of expectations and silence. And now, you're being asked to rise. Not in the old way, not by force, but through softness. Through surrender. Through choosing yourself, finally, without apology. I want to take a moment to thank you truly for being here. Every like, every comment, every share, and every single subscriber helps grow this soul-led family we call Eternal Mindfulness. Your support brings these healing messages to more hearts, and your energy is part of that light. So thank you. From the bottom of my heart. For showing up. For still believing. For trusting your intuition enough to click on this video today. And trust me, Leo, you'll want to stay with me until the very end. Because what the universe is about to reveal is breathtaking. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. What brought you here today? What part of your soul whispered, "Watch this"? Was it hope? Exhaustion? A longing you can't quite explain? Whatever it was, it matters. So if you feel even the tiniest resonance in your heart, drop this in the comments right now. I am Leo and I am ready to walk through the door. Say it. Claim it. Let the universe hear it. Because this is more than a comment. It's a sacred confirmation that you are ready to step into your next chapter. Now breathe deeply with me. Because what's coming next will show you why your soul brought you here at exactly the right time. Let's begin. Lately, Leo, you may have noticed something shifting inside you, something quiet but undeniable. It's not loud or dramatic. In fact, it moves like water beneath the surface, still, but full of pressure. Maybe you've been waking up tired, even after rest. Maybe the things that once sparked your fire now feel distant, muted, hollow. It's not that you don't care. It's that your energy is trying to pull itself away from what no longer nourishes it. This inner restlessness is not a flaw or a failure. It's a message. A sacred nudge from within, not from the stars or the sky, but from that part of you that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. Astrologically, the sun, your ruling planet, is shining light on a part of your chart that speaks to the forgotten self. The version of you that may have gotten lost beneath responsibilities, roles, and endless expectations. This cosmic angle is not here to punish or expose you. It's here to reintroduce you to yourself. It's a gentle illumination, showing you where you've been dimmed and where your true light wants to rise again. At the same time, Saturn, the great teacher, is pressing against your need to control everything around you. Not to limit you, but to ask, what happens if you let go of control? What arises when you stop trying to fix, manage, or perform, and instead just be? This is a time when the universe is asking you to sit in stillness and simply notice what you feel. Not rush to change it, not judge it, but witness it as it is. You might feel uncomfortable. That's okay. Growth often hides inside discomfort. Think of it like standing before a river that's about to swell. The water hasn't risen yet, but you can feel the tension in the air. The wind has changed. The silence is too quiet. Something is coming, and your body knows it before your mind can understand it. This is the realm of the High Priestess, the tarot archetype of deep inner knowing. She doesn't speak. She waits. She listens. She lets the unseen reveal itself in its own time. Right now, you're being asked to embody that same energy. To become the witness. The feeler. The one who doesn't rush to name what's happening, but simply stays present enough to recognize something is. And then, there is the tower. Not to frighten you, but to remind you, what is falling apart was never stable to begin with. The tower is not punishment. It is liberation. It's the cracking of the shell so the seed can root into something real. In life, we often mistake stability for stillness. But not all things that stand still are secure. Some are frozen. Some are hollow. Some are ready to fall so you can finally breathe again. Right now, you are not breaking. You are breaking open. And that is a very different thing. There's an old teaching: when the surface is stirred, it's not to disturb, it's to reveal what has settled at the bottom. Sometimes stillness isn't peace, but stagnation. And movement isn't chaos, but healing. What you're feeling is not wrong. It's necessary. It's the body's way of shifting into alignment with what's true. You are not losing your light, Leo. You are just shedding the layers that were dimming it. You are remembering that your fire does not come from applause, from validation, or from being everything to everyone. It comes from within. From breath. From truth. From silence that is so full, it speaks louder than any words. So if you've been asking yourself, why do I feel this way? Here is your answer. Because you're ready for more. Not more effort. Not more struggle. But more authenticity. More freedom. More connection to your own soul. Don't rush. Don't force clarity. Simply sit with what is. Let yourself feel it. Let it rise. Let it teach you. And let it pass, when it's ready. And if any part of this resonates with your heart, even the quietest echo, comment below and say, I'm Leo, and I feel the shift inside me. Let this be your way of saying, I see it. I feel it. I honor it. Because this is only the beginning. And what's coming next will change everything. Some burdens don't look heavy from the outside. They don't have weight you can see or lines they draw on your skin. They live in silence in your thoughts, in the way your breath shortens without warning, in the way you smile out of habit rather than joy. These are the invisible loads you've been carrying, Leo. The ones that have been with you for so long, they've become part of your identity. Not because you chose them, but because at some point you believed you had to. You've been the light for others, the motivator, the strong one, the steady flame in the storm. People come to you for warmth, for reassurance, for direction. And you give. Again and again. Sometimes without anyone asking. You give because it's who you are. But underneath that strength, something has been burning. Not with brightness but with quiet exhaustion. Imagine a dormant volcano. Peaceful on the surface. Untouched. Majestic even. But deep beneath the rock is fire, constant, pressurized, alive. That's been you. You've stayed composed until something starts to crack. And not in an explosive way, but in the kind of slow unraveling that begins when your soul whispers, I can't keep holding this alone. The tarot cards that echo this phase are clear. The Ten of Wands shows a figure weighed down by responsibilities, barely able to see what's ahead. Not because of failure but because they took on more than was ever meant to be theirs. And isn't that a reflection of what happens when love becomes duty? When support turns into sacrifice? You didn't mean to lose yourself. You just forgot to include yourself in the list of people you were showing up for. The Five of Cups speaks to the grief of what wasn't returned. The loyalty that wasn't seen. The effort that went unnoticed. It's the ache of missed connections and unspoken goodbyes. You may still be holding on to some of that, not because you're unwilling to let go, but because no one ever gave you permission to. So let this moment be that permission. And then there's the Queen of Wands reversed, a woman of fire who has dimmed her own light to maintain the peace. She's powerful, radiant, but disconnected from the joy that once came so naturally. And Leo, if this is you, know that there's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are simply tired. And there's a difference between weakness and exhaustion. This moment is an invitation to release. Not everything. Just one thing. Start small. What's one burden you've been carrying that no longer serves you? A story you keep telling yourself about what you owe others? A belief that love has to be earned through struggle? A need to be fine all the time? Whatever it is, write it down. Not for anyone else. Not for validation. but as a quiet offering to your own healing. Sometimes, release is not about dropping everything and walking away. It's about loosening your grip, letting something rest, breathing where you used to brace. That's what real strength looks like. There's a teaching that says, the cup must be emptied before it can be filled again. And that's what this phase is about. Not loss, not failure, but creating space. Because when your hands are full of what no longer belongs, how can you receive what's meant for you? So take a moment now and be honest with yourself. What have you been carrying that wasn't yours to begin with? What have you accepted as permanent, when it was only meant to be a lesson? And if this resonates even slightly, I invite you to comment below. I am Leo and I'm ready to release what no longer belongs to me. Let that be your turning point. Let that be your breath of light. Because what comes after the letting go is where the miracle begins. You've spent so long looking outside of yourself for the sign, for the moment, for the person who would show up and make everything feel safe again. And maybe you've waited in silence with hope held in your hands like an offering, wondering if someone or something would come to rescue you from the ache, the uncertainty, the fatigue of always being the one who holds it all together. But Leo, you're not here to be saved. You're here to remember. Because the truth is, you don't need to chase miracles. You are one. You always have been. This is not a metaphor. It's not a pretty phrase to lift your mood. It's an invitation to turn inward to the still, powerful place within you that hasn't been extinguished, only forgotten. The world teaches us that we are only valuable when we're visible, loud, praised, or productive. But your worth was never dependent on what you did. It was born with you. It's still here. It's waiting. The law of attraction teaches us something simple but profound. Whatever you radiate, you pull toward you. That doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time or pretend everything's fine. It means that your inner state matters. Your energy becomes the lens through which your life is shaped. And when you begin to meet yourself with compassion instead of criticism, when you soften instead of harden, you start to shift your entire field. Every act of self-love, no matter how small, becomes a ripple. And soon enough, that ripple becomes a current. That current becomes a wave. And before you know it, you're moving toward the life that matches your truest vibration, not the life you had to settle for out of fear or habit. This is what it means to be reborn from within. Not to become someone new, but to come home to yourself. The star card in tarot speaks to that very essence. It arrives after darkness. After the tower has fallen. After the tears have dried. It's a symbol not of noise, but of quiet restoration, a reminder that healing doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes, it's water. Sometimes, it's silence. Sometimes, it's simply hope returning after you thought it was gone forever. The Ace of Wands, on the other hand, is fire but not destructive. It's the spark of inspiration, a new beginning rooted in your authenticity. When these two archetypes meet, they whisper something important. The moment you stop trying to become someone else, you become powerful again. You no longer need to prove your worth. You no longer have to earn love through exhaustion. You only need to choose yourself and choose again, and again, every single day. So today, Leo, write this down. Not for anyone else to read. Just for you. I am enough. I am worthy. I am ready to receive. Say it. Breathe it. Let it vibrate inside you. Because when you believe that, not perfectly, but honestly, the world around you begins to respond. The right people show up. The right doors open. But more importantly, the wrong ones no longer have a hold over you. You stop knocking on doors that were never meant for you in the first place. There's a teaching that says the lotus doesn't bloom in clear water, it rises from the mud. And isn't that a beautiful reflection of where you are? You don't need to be rescued from the mud. You only need to rise through it. So if there's still a part of you holding on to doubt, still waiting for permission to believe again, let today be the day you grant it. Not because someone told you to, but because, in this quiet moment, you finally remember. You were never broken. You were only buried. And now you rise. If you feel this even slightly in your heart, comment below. I am Leo and I am the miracle I've been waiting for. Let that be the beginning. Not of a new version of you, but of a return to the truth you never lost. Sometimes, the most powerful messages don't arrive through words. They come in moments that feel oddly alive, like a sudden breeze when everything else is still, or a line in a song that echoes exactly what your heart has been trying to say. You may have brushed it off as coincidence, but something deeper within you knows better. When your soul is ready to shift, the world around you begins to respond. Not loudly, but with a kind of sacred subtlety that only presence can recognize. Lately, you might have started noticing repeating numbers 111, 911, 444. These aren't just patterns. In numerology, numbers carry frequencies, and when they appear again and again in your environment, it's often because you are aligning with that frequency. The number 9, for instance, is the final stage in a cycle. It represents completion, wisdom gained through experience, and the gentle grief that often accompanies letting go. When this number begins to appear more frequently, it's a sign that you're nearing the end of something, a belief, a behavior, a version of yourself. But every ending carries within it the seed of something new. That's where the number 1 comes in. It is the vibration of initiation, a fresh chapter, the very first breath of a new beginning. If you're seeing both 9s and 1s in your life, even unconsciously, it means something important is happening. You're simultaneously closing and opening, like an inhale that naturally leads to an exhale. The presence of 444 often brings another layer, the reminder that you are supported, even if you feel alone. It's the stabilizing energy of foundation building, of invisible hands holding you steady while you rebuild from within. In this quiet transformation, you may feel called to retreat, not as a way of escaping, but as a way of listening. The hermit in tarot reflects this beautifully. He walks alone, but not because he is lost. He withdraws to see more clearly. He follows the glow of his own lantern, his inner knowing, even when the path ahead is uncertain. For Leo, whose energy often thrives in visibility and connection, this type of solitude may feel unfamiliar. But solitude is not isolation. It's spaciousness. And you may be entering a season where you're meant to tune out the noise, and tune into what's real. During this time, your intuition sharpens. Your senses stretch beyond the ordinary. The Page of Swords, another guide in the tarot, brings the energy of curiosity, the message that there's something new on the horizon, but you must stay open, alert, and grounded. Clarity doesn't always arrive in lightning bolts. Sometimes it arrives in soft repetition, in recurring dreams, in colors you suddenly feel drawn to without knowing why. You might find yourself reaching for warm amber shades or a certain blue that feels like memory. These are not random preferences. Color holds vibration, and certain hues resonate with different stages of growth. This week, Leo is magnetically drawn to shades that hold emotional power. The rich bronze orange of copper ignites your confidence and grounds you in self-belief. Deep indigo violet tones help you gently release outdated narratives that are still echoing in your subconscious. Olive green reconnects you to your solar essence, the calm center beneath the fire. These sensory cues, the sights, the sounds, even the textures, are part of how your inner world speaks. They bypass logic. They go straight to the heart. If you've recently found yourself tearing up for no reason, dreaming of light, or hearing words in music that hit you in a place deeper than thought, it's not random. It's a signal. It's life saying, pay attention. Something sacred is unfolding. And if that speaks to something inside you, even just a little comment below and say, I am Leo and I'm starting to see the signs. Let that be your gentle confirmation that you're not imagining things. You're remembering. You're waking up. And the language of the world around you is starting to sound familiar again. It's a strange kind of power, isn't it, the moment you realize that not everything needs to be held so tightly. That your worth is not tied to how much you control, or how much you push forward, or how much you sacrifice to keep everything together. There comes a time in every soul's journey when growth no longer comes from force, but from clarity. From understanding. From a softer, more sustainable kind of strength, the kind that doesn't try to dominate life, but listens to it. This is that time for you, Leo. After all the inner shifting, after the releasing, the remembering, the noticing, something inside you is beginning to clear. Like a window that's been fogged over for months, and suddenly one morning the light shines through again. It's not that the path ahead is perfectly laid out. It's that you can see yourself more clearly now. And with that comes a new kind of responsibility. Not to fix everything, but to choose again, this time, from a place of deeper wisdom. Choosing again doesn't mean abandoning everything you've built. It means asking, what still feels true? What still feels alive? What do I need to revise, not to make myself better, but to honor who I've become? In your daily rhythms, this begins with the body. Health isn't just about fuel and function. It's about presence. The way you rise in the morning. The way you tend to yourself without rush. What if 5 quiet minutes each day, just you, your breath, and a warm cup of water with honey or grapefruit oil became your reset? A small but sacred way of telling your nervous system, we're not in survival mode anymore. You don't need to wait for burnout to rest. You can rest because rest is your right. In your work, the question becomes, am I creating from pressure or purpose? What would I do, even if no one ever applauded it? You may be standing at a crossroads where the answer isn't to chase more, but to pause. To step back and notice what's calling you beneath the noise of deadlines and expectations. Often, the greatest breakthroughs come in the quiet moments when we stop striving and allow ourselves to simply notice. That noticing becomes guidance. Financially, you're being asked to ground not out of fear, but out of maturity. There's nothing urgent right now, even if your habits tell you otherwise. This isn't the time to make hasty choices or chase fast rewards. It's the time to observe. What patterns keep repeating? What decisions have been driven by lack instead of alignment? The King of Pentacles doesn't rush. He builds slowly, deliberately, because he knows that stability isn't something you chase, it's something you embody. And in love, the most tender of all, you're invited to ask the question few dare to face: am I expanding in this connection or shrinking to stay in it? Love that costs your vitality is not love. It's obligation dressed in desire. Real love doesn't drain you. It holds space for your fire and your quiet. If you find yourself dimming to maintain harmony, it may be time to choose differently. To choose you. The World card speaks here with elegance. It reminds you that a chapter is closing not because you failed, but because you've outgrown the shape it once required you to be. You've completed a cycle. You've gathered the pieces. And now, you begin again, not as someone who's starting over, but as someone who finally understands what they no longer need to carry. There's a teaching that says, when the fruit is ripe, it falls effortlessly from the branch. No pushing. No straining. It just lets go. That's how this next season of your life will feel when you stop gripping. When you stop negotiating with fear. When you start letting clarity, not control, be your compass. So take a breath. Slow down. Ask yourself, gently, what am I choosing today, not because I should, but because it honors who I truly am now? If that question opens something in you, write it down. Let it live on the page. Let it be the next small, conscious act of choosing yourself again and again, until it becomes natural. And if you're feeling it even quietly, let the universe know by sharing this in the comments. I am Leo and I'm ready to choose with clarity, not control. Because this is no longer about holding it all together. It's about living from the inside out. And that changes everything. And so, dear Leo, if you've stayed with me until now, take a deep breath. Let it sink in the truth you may have forgotten but have always carried. You were never waiting to be chosen. You were waiting to remember that you have always been worthy. Not because of what you've achieved, not because of who accepts you or how perfectly you've held yourself together, but because your soul was born whole. Complete. Enough. Maybe you've spent years searching for someone to see you, to truly see the fire behind your eyes, the loyalty in your heart, the quiet ache you carry when you're smiling for others. But what if all this time, the one you were waiting for was you? What if the recognition, the permission, the love you longed for could be given from within? No more waiting. No more performing. Just a gentle arrival at your own center. This journey we've walked through together hasn't been about fixing you. It's been about guiding you back to yourself. You've released what no longer serves. You've listened to the signs. You've allowed your fire to flicker not as weakness, but as part of the cycle that precedes rebirth. You've paused long enough to realize that healing is not a destination, but a series of conscious choices made in the quiet moments. And today, you've made one. But this isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter. A more honest one. A softer one. A chapter where you lead not from exhaustion, but from wholeness. From knowing your value, not begging for it. From choosing peace, not proving strength. If today was the first page of that new chapter, what would your first sentence be? What would you write to yourself if no one else would read it? Would you give yourself grace? Would you write, "I'm proud of you"? Would you say, "I forgive you"? Or maybe just, "I love you no matter what"? Whatever it is, write it. Say it. Breathe it into the space you now hold within. And if you feel moved to, I invite you right now to anchor this moment in your reality by sharing in the comments. I am Leo and I have stepped through my own door. Let the universe hear it. Let your future self feel it. Let this not just be another video you watched, but a line in the story where everything shifted. Because you see, the door has always been open. But only you could choose to walk through it. And you just did. From my heart to yours, thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence, your time, your openness, your trust. Every like, every share, every comment you leave nourishes this space we've built together, this healing circle called eternal mindfulness. You are not just a viewer. You are part of this light. You are why this message came to life. So please, if this journey spoke to you, don't forget to subscribe. Let this be the first of many conversations we'll have. Let this be your return, not to a version of you that the world approves of, but to the version that has always lived beneath the surface, quietly waiting for your attention. May you carry forward with enough clarity to see your own worth, enough courage to release what no longer serves, and enough softness to receive all the love you truly deserve. Until next time, Leo. Keep your flame alive. Keep walking with trust. And remember, you are the miracle. The door is open. And your light is already leading the way.